Playboi Carti, Yeat, Kanye West. Whilst their style of music may differ, all of these artists have this one thing in common: a cult following. Fans that listen and support an artist unconditionally, no matter the quality of music or if it is morally correct. Whilst these kind of fan bases may be disliked by the general public, they undoubtedly have a positive effect on the artist's sales. The three I named at the start aren't the only rappers that I could have used, but I believe they perfectly present my point of why this kind of fan base is beneficial. So, how do artists attain this sort of following? There are several ways to do so, but the artists I named are all abnormal personalities who create unique and distinct sounding music, meaning that alongside their music being different to what people typically hear, the person behind the music also have qualities that aren't typically seen among popular artists. All three artists have done these three main things that has led to them amassing these cult fan bases. 1. Experimentation, with both their music and fashion sense being dissimilar to other artists in the industry. 2. Having a very memorable or recognizable persona. And 3. Their obscure use of social media. Let me explain these points to you using these artists as examples. Kanye is the backbone for most artists dive into other genres, as he's been experimenting for the majority of his career. Take for example Late Registration and compare that to 808s and Heartbreaks, or Yeezus, or actually any of his other albums. They all have different sounds, and this is why fans love his music so much. Whilst Playboi Carti had a big fan base before he dropped Whole Lotta Red, it's nothing compared to the cult following he has since he dropped the iconic project. Carti's experimentation with punk rock combined with rap took some time to grow on people, but is now considered a classic by many rap fans, which has caused a massive fan base to eagerly anticipate the next project from the artist. Now, Yeat's music isn't too dissimilar from Carti's Whole Lotta Red style, but there is still enough distinction for fans to create a cult following around the artist, with the music having an outer space feel to it instead of the rockstar vibe Carti has. Having only blown up fairly recently, Yeat has very quickly cultivated a cult fan base through his unique persona, which leads me on to my next point. Each of these artists are very easily recognisable. In terms of Kanye, whilst there is multiple ways you can recognise him, most people know him as a narcissistic, self-proclaimed genius who supports Donald Trump and embarrasses Taylor Swift on a global scale, alongside countless other things. Controversial, right? Well, controversy seems to sell in the case of Kanye West. Moving on to Carti, who has also had multiple personas, but is most iconic clearly being the vampire era he is in now, inspiring many people to make similar sounding music and dress just like him. Once again, Carti hasn't got the cleanest of reputations in the media, but his fans still support him unconditionally. Yeat has just recently came onto the scene, but once again, he brings a personality that fans like, simply due to it being different to other artists, with him basically creating his own language, or at least making him more known, with words like Twizzy and Tonka, wearing things like turbans constantly and rarely having his face shown in the media. He creates a standout personality, which attracts many people to him in a short amount of time. Unlike Kanye and Carti, Yeat hasn't had any big scandals, but he still uses controversial things like the devil, mentioning him in multiple songs because, just like I said before, controversy sells. Something else these artists have in common is their lack of social media use. I touched upon this point in my Why is Yeat So Popular video, but will further expand on it here. These artists, apart from Kanye sometimes, don't really communicate with their fans online or keep them updated on what they are up to, if they create music, or even when they will drop their next piece of music. You would think this would cause fans to not really care about the artist and lead to a fall off in listeners, but it does quite the opposite. Not knowing what these artists do allow their fans to create their own theories, which creates more conversation and anticipation around the artist. Yeat quite literally doesn't promote his albums or have a specific rollout, he just posts a random image with the caption mentioning the album is out or coming soon. And if it wasn't for DJ Academics, fans wouldn't have even known Carti's Whole Lotta Red was coming on Christmas. These artists don't update their fans, yet they sell more than rappers who have a whole rollout for their album due to the fact that the fans love the mystery and anticipation that leads up to the album actually being released. Now, Kanye is slightly different in this regard. Whilst he has moments of going ghost, he is also pretty active on social media, when he isn't banned at least. The artist has been around so long, we've seen him do all sorts, and in Ye's case, fans love to create theories about when he is ghost, but also like his notable social media presence when he is posting regularly. But he is still different from other artists, which gives him his cult following, as he is either not on social media or on it too much. So we've been through the main reasons for these artists acquiring their cult fan bases, but how does it actually benefit them? Firstly, it allows the artists to experiment without it negatively affecting their sales too much. Take Carti for example. When Whole Lotta Red came out, not many people appreciated it and instead labelled it Whole Lotta Mid. But yet, if you have a look at the first week's sales, Carti sold 100k first week and placed first on the Billboard Top 200, mainly due to his cult fanbase listening to his music even if they don't particularly like it. This links into our second point, as if these artists have this following, it means that they will get consistent sales throughout their career, which benefits their longevity in the industry. And the longer they are in the industry, the further they will grow and gain from it. Kanye has done this exact thing. Even though he's been in the rap game since the early 2000s, the artist hasn't fell off, having over 50 million monthly listeners on Spotify to this day, as well as selling well with each album he releases. I mean, even his STEM player sold well, and people only bought that because Ye released it. And there's plenty of examples of people buying something simply because their favourite artist has either endorsed it or released it themselves. Lastly, the word of mouth promotion that these artists get from their fanbase is unrivaled. It's incredibly useful in promoting their upcoming albums. Yeat's fanbase perfectly backs up this point, with his fanbase being the main source of promotion for his latest album, Afterlife, as the artist has had incredibly minimal promotion for it, as he usually does with just a handful of posts on his story letting people know that the album is coming out. He didn't have a big rollout for the album, instead letting his fans do the work, as the cult following of Yeats will be more likely to tell their friends and associates about their new project. To conclude, rap artists look to achieve these cult followings as they provide countless benefits for them, ranging from the consistent sales they can achieve to it helping them with longevity in their careers. Within the video, I provided you with examples of artists that have the sort of fanbase we are talking about, but what about the artists that don't? Future and Lil Baby are two that are obviously extremely successful, but don't have the sort of cult following the others do. Let me know in the comments what artists you think do or don't have a fanbase that would literally die for them. And that wraps up the video. If you enjoyed, then make sure to subscribe, leave a like and turn on post notifications. Check out my previous video for more content, and I'll see you in the next one.